All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Few Show. So, here we are in segment 3. This one is Captain Bogy versus Bruce in the F5 match. You're asking yourself, what is a F5 match? Hey guys, what is the F5 match?
Fanatics baseball.
Yeah, that's right. So we will be going head to head in this F5 match. I will ask questions to Bruce that no one dares to ask, and Bruce will need to have an answer. If you know referee Bruce, this interview will blow your mind. And if you don't know Bruce, the referee, you are in for a treat. Let's go to the tail of the tape. So I am Captain Bogy, standing at 6 feet tall, weighing in at amazing. Hailing from New York City / Miami.
We want the weight.
The weight? Wait for it. Wrestling promotion, the Few Show. My finishing move is the F5 Gotcha. And I have been quoted as saying, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 4 rights will get you dizzy.
Give me a hell yeah!
Hell yeah! All right, so, and my opponent, his name, Bruce. His nickname is the Ref of Refs. Yeah. His resume, he is announcer / referee. So we're going to hear a little bit about that. Height and weight, he put down on his application, none of your business. So Bruce has met and brushed shoulders with the following. So let me go through this little resume that he has. And this is only part 1 of these names in history. Kevin Sullivan, referee Earl Hebner, Christian, Gangrel, Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe, Gerald Briscoe, Rose Mendez, Barry Windham, Two Cold Scorpio, Bill Watts, The Midnight Express, MVP, Carlito, Earthquake, The Barbarian, Teddy Long, Haku, Bobby Lashley, Rocky Johnson, Ricky Santana, Fit Finlay, Wade Barrett, Bray Wyatt. I'm going to have to hold on there. I got to catch my breath. I'll tell you the rest later on, guys. Whew. All right. So, Bruce, how are you, brother? How you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Let me go ahead and show you guys a little something that he brought. I don't know if the cameras can catch this. This belt right here is beautiful. If you can lift this up, you'd probably get some 26-inch pythons like Hulk Hogan in a few weeks. This thing is very, very heavy.
Yeah.
So, just give us a quick little history on this.
Little history on this belt is actually this belt was in Iraq. There were soldiers who would wrestle, and when they weren't under siege and fire, they would wrestle for entertainment. And unfortunately, when the soldier came home, he sold me the belt simply because a lot of his buddies that were wrestling when they would have fun over there died.
Wow.
And he didn't want the memory of the belt related to them, so he sold it to me. Now, I've also said that we should get Jose at X Wrestling to use this as the X Championship.
All right.
So I'm hoping we can get there.
Yes. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So, let's start off the Few Fast 5 Fanatic Face-Off. Yeah. So, Bruce, how long have you been a wrestling fan, and which was your first experience watching wrestling?
Okay, my first experience wrestling is I was probably about 10 years old, and back then wrestling was in black and white, and a lot of times,
Really?
and
Like your shirt?
Yeah, just like that.
Oh my
and,
God!
Black and white TV for black and white stripes. But wrestling was great then because this was championship wrestling from Florida. Eddie Graham, Gordon Solie, the great Malenko, Scarpa, many of the names, and Joe Scarpa eventually became Chief Jay Strongbow at the WWF. But back then, you have to understand there weren't all the sports teams that we have, basketball, hockey, and things that we have today. So when wrestling came on, that was it. Everybody watched it. A lot of people that said they weren't fans watched it, but that's how I became a fan. I was probably 10 years old.
Wow. Okay. So, how did you get involved in wrestling?
Okay, mine was an interesting twist because, like anyone else, I became a wrestling fan. But I also found out that I started taking pictures, and I developed my own pictures in darkroom. And I found out that I could sell them. I could make them for 13 cents. This is black and white, folks.
Nice.
Sell them for 50 cents to the wrestler. They'd sell them for $1. and they were making more money than they were wrestling selling my pictures.
Wow.
So now I kind of became one of their favorites because I helped them make a lot of extra money. And then I started picking them up at the airport, and one thing led to another. And fortunately, that's how I kind of got my break in, was with photography. Later, I became an announcer and a referee, but that's how I got my jump into the business.
Okay. Well, actually, let's follow up with that. So when did you actually become a referee? Because, of course, that is what we know Bruce as. So when did you become a referee, and how did you come to that decision that let me do this and put these black and white stripes on?
Well, mine started off, like I said, probably around 73 or so. You know, I was a timekeeper announcer, and then after becoming an announcer, it was around 1978. Michael Hayes, Freebirds were in town. He was one of the bookers. And I told him I wanted to be a referee. There was two reasons. One is you didn't have to stay all night like you did when you were an announcer. Two, it paid better. And that's one of the things that I found interesting is always wanted to be in the ring with the people, because it doesn't get any better than being right in there. And obviously, one of the things was, you know, when I was an announcer, I was cued in on a lot of finishes and stuff. But when you were, back then it was the kayfabe days, nobody knew. But now, all of a sudden, I'm in there, man. And it's like when you know the finish of a world title match before it happens, stuff, that it's like tremendous. There's always the fan in me. That's never left me. I'm still the fan that I was.
So that 10-year-old is still
it's
always
inside.
Rooting. Nice.
Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce.
All right. So this is a question that we hit with all our guests. Who are your 5 favorite wrestlers of all time? I know we can all have like 20 or 30, but who would you say you would put up there, and especially with your experience, that you would put up there as your fave 5?
Yeah, some of them will go back a little bit in time.
Please
because
do.
I've been in there for 4 decades in the business.
Wow.
But, you know, Ric Flair, from a point that the guy is the same guy that he is now, that he was then. He defined the business of everybody, whether they were a wrestling fan or not. If he went in a store, an airport, a bar, a restaurant, everybody in the world knew who Ric Flair was.
Yes.
2, just because of incredible matches, would be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Wow.
Who started here in championship wrestling from Florida. The matches between Flair and anybody Steamboat worked were classics. Just one of the greatest performers ever. The next I would go with The Rock, and simply because, you know, I knew The Rock when he was a kid because I used to haul his dad around, Rocky Johnson. So this goes back into the 70s, and, you know, I knew The Rock when he was just a little kid this high, like everyone else and the kids that are here today.
Nice.
And, you know, the next gets pretty interesting is, you know, it's... I find Hogan interesting because he changed wrestling from what it is.
Yes.
You know, if the business stayed the way it was, it would have went away.
Wow.
It needed a change because people weren't buying into the old stuff that we did.
Yeah.
So it changed, but they needed that bigger-than-life charisma star.
And he was.
And Hogan provided that physically,
on
TV and the matches. And, you know, he wasn't the greatest wrestler, but if you could see that, like, a guy could pick up Andre the Giant and do what he could do. I mean, Hulkamania to this day is still there, and we're talking 30 years ago. And last but not last is, and this was set up by the youngest members of the feud here today, my favorite wrestling ring. And I was playing with this, but they told me put it back, so I will. But last but not least, Andre the Giant.
Wow.
I had the privilege to take Andre the Giant before he spoke English and travel in different places with him and kind of be his driver and make sure that he got to the arenas and, you know, and sometimes fly with him and everything. And, you know, you're talking about a guy that drank over 120 beers in Dallas Airport.
That's the history.
So when I traveled with Andre, I drank good, I ate good, and, you know, people didn't push me around. I was this little skinny kid of, you know, about 120 pounds. People didn't push me around when I was with the big man, so I enjoyed that.
Awesome. Now, the last question, we're about to wrap this up. What is the most memorable experience that you've had in your whole refereeing career? What would you say that would be?
I would say a match that was at the War Memorial Auditorium in Fort Lauderdale where I took a bad bump and I hit the steel cage post of the door, and my head actually split for real on a hard way. And when I went down for the count, I went for the 1, the 2, and the 3. Flair saw blood. It looked like it was pouring out of my ear, and he laid there, and I came down with the 3. We had a house announcer, and the house announcer announced the winner, new world champion, Wahoo McDaniels, and the building went nuts.
Oh, wow.
Well, then I get up and said, no, his shoulder was up this much, and Flair grabs him by the tights, rolls him up 1, 2, 3, and fortunately we were in a steel cage, and that kept us from being safe that night. But they tore the building up, and the next day the article in the newspaper was war breaks out at the War Memorial, and they showed all the damage. So I had a lot to do with that, all that damage to that building, But it was memorable because both of them were truly, truly good workers, and those guys used to go 60-minute matches 7 nights a week when they came through the territory, and both of them great performers. And to this day, like I said, Ric Flair is still there, and he's got the same notoriety that he had 20, 30 years ago.
Sure. Well, there you have it, guys. Here we have Bruce, the Ref of Refs, who almost brought down the War Memorial, burned it down and all that everything. Yes, Ref of Refs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping up this segment here. So we're going to be coming back with a few more questions to Bruce. So stay tuned to The Feud Show!
24/7 Miami Radio.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Wow, this hour is flying. So welcome back again to what? The Feud Show! All right, so again, Bruce has met and brushed shoulders with many, many wrestlers going back 4 decades. I'm going to go ahead and continue this list. Yes, there are more. So let's begin with Magnum TA, Dustin Rhodes, Hector Guerrero, Road Dogg, Mr. Ass Billy Gunn, X-Pac, Norman Smiley, Booker T, Sucker, I had to say it, The Big Show, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Sabu, a ECW original, the Dudley Brothers, Dutch Mantel, Greg the Hammer Valentine, yeah, Freebird Michael Hayes, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, Terry Funk, Ric Flair, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, Jimmy the Superfly Snuka, The Rock, and Hulk Hogan. Oh my goodness. All these guys, you have seen them. I mean, you've probably been starstruck many a time, huh?
Yeah, it's fortunate I've had the opportunity to work with 4 decades of people, and sometimes second generations like the Ordens,
Awesome.
Or third generation, Big Bob Orton, Bob Orton Jr. and then Randy Orton and stuff. But it's just amazing because there's been so much talent, and health-wise, I've been able to perform for 40 years. So I've been blessed with that opportunity.
Well, I know Cowboy Bob Orton, poor guy. He hurt, I think, his left leg, and he had a cast on for like about 3 years.
Yeah.
Has that still healed? Or
no, every once in a while he's manages out there, and to this day it's actually his forearm.
Still on there?
Yes, he suffers from it, and some opponents bump into it. But, but it's been accidental.
Got to protect it. All right. So let's find out, where did you referee for the first time, and how was that experience?
Yeah. Well, my first time was I transitioned from Florida Championship Wrestling to being an announcer to a referee, and that was in Orlando, Florida. Dale Vesey and Mike Golden. To this day, I remember the match.
Okay, but how was that experience? Because the first time we do something, drive a car, go out with a date. I mean, there's butterflies. I mean, refereeing.
Well, I was nervous, and they told me that no matter what, you can't screw it up because the match was called a Broadway. That means it's going to go like 10-minute draw. Nobody's going to win. Well, the match went 10 minutes, and I was worried about screwing it up. I talked to Michael Hayes and Dutch Mantel.
Wow.
Well, sure enough, when the match ended, the bell rang. Instead of going out there and raising both guys' hands, I jumped out of the ring and left the ring. And I left both guys standing and looking at each other. And, to this day, Michael Hayes, I saw him 20 years later, and I said, I don't know if you remember me because my head's shaved, and back then I had long hair. He says, yeah, the only guy to ever screw up a Broadway, and
wow.
So I've been noted
Great
by
memory.
a couple wrestlers for the only guy to ever have done that in wrestling on TV. So,
at least you're famous for something.
yeah, something.
All right.
Infamous or famous, it doesn't matter.
So now this is going to be interesting. Where have your travels taken you because of wrestling?
I've been very fortunate. I mean, the furthest I've went is Saudi Arabia. I've went to Austria, Germany, Guam. South America, Canada. I've been blessed to go to different places that I've been very, very fortunate. And I would have never got to do that without wrestling. I'll give you an example. Saudi Arabia, we did the first show ever. We took a bunch of WWE guys that were off a contract, and we had over 200,000. So that's bigger than WrestleMania.
Wow. But in one showing?
Yeah.
200,000.
And we ran Jeddah,
ridiculous.
the capital, I believe it was 3 times in a 6 or 7 day period. And the first show was the biggest, 200,000, and everything over that was over 100,000.
Oh, my
Wow.
goodness. Yeah. 200,000. They just broke the record in this last WrestleMania, filling a stadium. I think it was 101,000. But 200,000.
The interesting part about that, you have to understand, is because of the culture, they don't allow women and children to attend the matches.
Oh.
So this is 200,000 men.
Wow.
going.
And this was like in the 80s?
This would be about probably about 86.
Okay.
87, about 87.
So, who are the 3 biggest names in wrestling that you have met in your career? Who would you say from the names up there in the echelon of heaven of the best?
The best and the biggest out there, I'm a little biased. One is The Rock,
Wow.
because everybody you meet or hear about The Rock will say he's just a tremendous person. He's the same person he was when he was that kid. He stops.
Awesome.
He takes time for people. And Ric Flair, I put them both in the same category.
Okay.
So it's hard to differentiate between the two. So I'm going to let you guys pick those. Dusty Rhodes, who really turned the business into what it was for the state of Florida, and then when it was in the territory days. And I'm going to go with Michael Hayes, the man who gave me my break to become a referee, because
free
without
bird.
him, I would not be a referee to this day. So for Michael Hayes, I'm throwing him in the mix.
All right. So, to catch Bruce in social media, he has a Facebook page. Type in Bruce Owens. Bruce Owens, right?
That's it. It's under Bruce Michael Owens, Honolulu, Hawaii. But understand, I've never been to Hawaii in my life, but a lot of people think I have been. And that explains the 4,500 followers that I've got.
Wow. And listen, you go on his Facebook page, click pictures, go into his album of wrestlers, and everything that I just mentioned here will be right there. It's documented. He has pictures with all these guys and more. All right. So, want to mention something real quick. If you have any shout out, if you ever have a birthday coming up or someone that you know have a birthday coming up and you would like us to give a little shout out here during the show, just go ahead and contact us. Go on our Facebook page, put in the keyword The Few Show, and just send me a little message, and we can always do something like that. So I'm going to start off with a few shout outs here, because we're about to wrap this up. So, shout-outs to Soy Fabulous, GIOMASTER, Rhino, Papa Few, 24/7 Lou, JFEW, our stage manager, RAFEW, an amazing talent, Bruce, the ref of refs. Thank you for being here, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Josue Melendez, Pablo Marquez, Brandon, Craig Classic, JB Cool, Vince Hannity for that report, Richard Tingle for giving it to us, Sean Patrick from the Facebook group page called Independent Pro Wrestling 24/7, Renee from MFG, brother, Adrian Doodlin is the host of Cannon Fire, which you can find on 247miami.tv. And just previously, I just want to give a quick shout out to David Ubieta, a special shout out for achieving his black belt. That's not easy to do, guys. Black belt. So that means we have an enforcer in the few. So Máscara Negra, watch out. GIOMASTER also, special little shout out for making honor roll gold. Good job, buddy. That's right. Using those noodles. So just to end this, remember to check out our videos by going to 247miami.tv to get more information and see behind the scenes pictures and videos. Go to our Facebook page. Remember, just type in The Few Show.
Also, wait a minute. One thing to mention, going off script.
Let's go off script.
The kids pre-show.
Yes.
You catch more stuff behind the scenes with the few kids.
Yes.
GIOMASTER and
D Nightmare and David Fan. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That was the brainchild of 24/7 Lou. He said, you know what, we need to do a Lou. We need to do a little something before we start off the show, and that was a great idea. As you guys see, they were live, and they would give you guys behind the scenes, doing interviews, seeing us showing up and setting up. So remember, go to our RAFEW page, click like, comment, share with your friends, and if you want to see a certain guest on our show, or if there's something you would like to see on the RAFEW show, drop us a line. So here is Captain Bogy finishing off episode 5 on the RAFEW show. I better see you next month. Enough said.
24/7 Miami Radio.